trying to evacuate as many people as possible. We've lost several other buildings, and we have no sense yet of the enormity of it with regard to the number of people that we lost. Just so that people get some notifications of what will happen. The school's chancellor has decided that he's going to close schools tomorrow. Principals will be coming in, some teachers, and in the whole purpose of it being for them to try to get ready for the next day so that the children can have appropriate counseling, and I think that's the right decision, and I support the chancellor in doing that. The city will be open tomorrow except for 14th Street South. 14th Street South will be closed tomorrow for any civilian personnel. It'll only be open for emergency personnel so that the rescue efforts and evacuation efforts can go on unhindered. 14th Street North in Manhattan will be open, but it's going to be very crowded, and it's going to be a complex and difficult day. So if tomorrow is a day you can take off, it probably would be a good thing to stay home and treat it as you would a day in which we had some form of a snowstorm or really difficult getting into Manhattan. And I know when we say that, we have fewer people in the city, and that will help. But if you have to come to work tomorrow, 14th Street North, the city will be open to civilian traffic. We now are up to over 600 people that we know about that we've taken to area hospitals, 2,000 people to Liberty State Park. The morgue is operating, and we don't have a count yet, and we really don't want to hazard a guess on that until somewhat later. And just one other thing that I would like to say. A situation like this, a tragedy like this, instills lots of feelings of anger and hatred, and I'd ask the people of the city not to have those feelings right now or ever. I mean, the reality is that hatred and insanity and prejudice caused this situation probably, and we have a lot of people in the city of all different backgrounds and all diverse religions, and they're not responsible for this. Whoever is responsible for this came from outside the city of New York. I'm sure the United States government will figure out who it is, and I'm sure we'll make an example out of them, as we should. But that should be left to the law enforcement authorities like the police and the FBI, the military, and not to the people of the city. Nobody should react that way. We have no reason to expect that anyone will, but I thought it might be a good idea just to remind everyone of that. Hatred, prejudice, anger, and irrational reaction to things is what caused this terrible tragedy. And people of the city of New York should act differently. We should act bravely. We should act in a tolerant way. We should go about our business, and we should show these people that they can't stop us, and they can't. Governor?
This is obviously still an ongoing effort to deal with the consequences of this horrible disaster. I want to commend the mayor first and his professional team. I don't think there's any finer group in America or the world, and they're doing an excellent job, and we're proud to have the National Guard and other state resources here helping as well. I want to thank my colleagues, the governors from the surrounding states. I've heard from virtually every governor, and we're getting help from Pennsylvania and Connecticut and New Jersey to deal with specialized needs to respond to the crisis that we still face. The goal right now is very simple. Everything that can be done to save every single life is being done, and we will continue to make sure that that is a priority. But we're going to get through this, and we're going to get through this strong. And just about an hour ago, I was out on the street in front of Cabrini Hospital, and you see New Yorkers from all walks of lives, more than a block long, waiting in line to donate blood to help the victims of this disaster. It's that spirit. It's that pulling together and that refusal to be intimidated in the face of this horrible terror that's going to make sure that this city, this state, and this country come back stronger than ever, and that the freedoms that we are entitled to have as Americans will not be lost because of this terror. So, Mayor, again, we're here. We'll do everything we can to make sure we support you.
Barry, you want to say a few words from the FBI?
I'm Barry Mawn with the FBI. I'm the Assistant Director. As the Governor and the Mayor just mentioned, we have taken the investigation. We'll take a back seat to search and rescue. Obviously, personal safety is #1 concern, even for us in law enforcement. I have talked, just generally speaking, this is going to be coordinated, is being coordinated by FBI in Washington at our headquarters. We have the various officers already actively engaged where some of the planes were hijacked, such as Boston, where it crashed in Somerset, Pennsylvania. We're doing all of that. The lead office and coordinating office will be the New York office with primarily because of the Joint Terrorism Task Force that we have here with NYPD, as well as all the other federal agencies. We are gathered. Probably the only thing that I would mention is we are bringing, probably when we get to a point that we can, the immediate search or preliminary search will be for the black boxes from the two planes here. We have NTSB coming in to assist us in that regard. Further, at maybe subsequent briefings, if we are not successful, we will have pictures to show, or the mayor will have pictures to show in an aid to assist us in that effort. That's where we are at the moment.
So one other thing I'd like to once again commend St. Vincent's Hospital. We were there a little bit earlier after we talked to you. They've taken care of over 300 people so far, and they needed water. The sanitation department has delivered 2 tankers of water to them so they can carry on their emergency efforts. If there are other hospitals that need help, having delivered over 600 people to hospitals, if they would communicate with us, with OEM and with the police department, or with the sanitation department or the fire department, we can give them the help that they need. We can find the water, we can find the emergency generators. If there are any hospitals that need help, please communicate with us.
If I might, I want to add one piece of information. The mayor's emergency task force and personnel are doing a spectacular job, but this is going to be an ongoing effort of some days or weeks. And we're calling for professionals, nurses, nurses' aides, EMTs, others to sign up to volunteer their services. We don't want them flocking to the city, but as the workforce gets exhausted and worn out, we're going to have rotating replacements. And we've set up a hotline where people, medical professionals, nurses, emergency management services can call 1-800-628-0193 to sign up so that as we need that support, we can call on you. We've also set up a hotline for doctors who are willing to help as we rotate through and provide additional backup and support services to the professionals who are acting currently. And that number is 1-518-431-7600. The spirit of New Yorkers is great. The spirit of people to come together in this time of enormous crisis to deal with that crisis is what's going to get us through. So if you have those specialized skills, don't try to flock to the city or to the scene. Call these numbers and we'll, in an orderly and organized way, be able to provide additional support.
Mr. Mayor, it's been almost a day now that's gone by without a death toll. Can you at least quantify it? Is it in the hundreds, the thousands? Is it over 5,000? Is it over 10,000?
There's no way to know that yet. The rescue efforts have not arrived at being able to really give us an estimate like that, and it would be unfair to do that. We would just be guessing based on the numbers of people that are in the building, and so I know you're desperate for a number like that, but it actually doesn't do any good. And let's first find out what the number actually is, so when we're closer to being able to make an estimate. Commissioner, Commissioner, or the
Mr. Mayor, based on the fact that the way the buildings collapsed on each other, do you have any reason to believe that there were bombs either on the planes or bombs that were in the buildings on the ground that would cause them to collapse the way they did?
No, there's nothing to indicate that at this time. And on the body count, as you were asking, our rescue efforts have really been hindered because of the structural damage of the buildings. You know, we want to get in there. We want to rescue the people that are alive and well in there, but we have to do it safely. And we've had an enormous problem with the structural damage because the buildings keep collapsing. So we're taking it one step at a time. We're trying to do it as safely as possible, and as soon as we can get in there and get them out, we'll do so. But you know, within the last 15-20 minutes, another part of one of the buildings fell. So this is a continuing effort, and as soon as we get the numbers, we'll let you know.
Mr. Mayor, 7 World Trade Center has already fallen down, one of the buildings that has collapsed. It houses OEM, several federal agencies, and within OEM, your bunker, your spot where you're supposed to be safe during emergency situations. What goes through your mind now that that's gone?
I thank God that I'm safe. I feel terrible for the people that we lost, some of whom I talked to just 15 minutes before we lost them. And the city is going to survive. We're going to get through it. It's going to be a very, very difficult time. I don't think we yet know the pain that we're going to feel when we find out who we lost. But the thing we have to focus on now is getting the city through this and surviving and being stronger for it.
Mayor, can I ask this, Mayor, have you had conversations with the president, and can you give us an idea of what he's doing in terms of coordinating efforts? What message has he sent to you?
The president, the governor and I both spoke to the president earlier. We talked to the White House 4 or 5 times after that, and the Navy. And their message that they gave us, just to simplify it, is that we're going to fight back. And we're not going to let terrorists frighten us. We're not going to let terrorists stop us from going about our way of life as Americans. And I have no doubt, I have absolute confidence that we'll figure out who did this and make an example of them so that this doesn't happen again. And our job in New York City is to save as many people as possible and get the city back to a normal way of life as soon as possible.
Mayor, Mr. Mark, can you tell us where their family members may be? Do you have hotline that you can call up to try and find out where people might be?
Right now, our major focus has to be on trying to find people. And if they call the police department and the fire department, we will do what we can to try to help them. But right now, we really have to focus on being able to search for people and find people, and we would not be able to give them that information at this point, just like we can't give you that information.
Mr. Mark, can you tell us just at this point what the status of the investigation is? What are you looking at? What kind of information do you have or have you received?
And are there
Well, as I already mentioned, I mean, it's very preliminary. Obviously, as you've heard from the stage here, and law enforcement has taken, we're concerned with the search and rescue. So we're poised, we're making plans with NYPD subsequent when all of the casualties or all of the searching is done, that we would go in and do a crime scene. But we're coordinating it. It's going to be coordinated through Washington with the New York office as far as where the planes were hijacked from, obtaining a manifest, where the plane crashed in Pennsylvania. We would obviously go to all of the intelligence agencies throughout the world for information pertaining to this. So we got a number of things going. As I mentioned, with NTSB, we're going to come in. Hopefully we'll get some of these black boxes. But we're more or less in the setting up stage and putting our ducks in a row to conduct the investigation. We've had a number of reportings, as you can imagine, with any type of this type incident. They are being run out by the Terrorism Task Force as well as the PD. We've had a number of them so far that have all been unfounded. So that's going to continue. We obviously want to solicit the public's help if they saw anything unusual. We will be establishing, I don't have it just yet, we will be establishing an 800 number which will be manned by our Atlanta, Georgia office, because right now, as is the mayor and the PD, we're suffering down at 26 Federal Plaza with phone calls. We're not able to make phone calls out. So in lieu of that, I would give you the headquarters number in Washington, D.C. is 202-324-3000 is the general number. If anybody had information pertaining to this incident, they should call that number and it will be routed to the appropriate people.
Have you received any calls? Has anyone claimed responsibility for
reports
this?
that the people who were on the planes were actually allowed to make a call to their loved one or to whoever before the plane actually crashed. One of those people making a call was the wife of the Solicitor General, Barbara Olson, who apparently called her husband and told him that people with box cutters and with knives had hijacked the plane and that they had driven everybody to the back of the plane, including the pilot. Do you have any other reports of people making calls and giving details about what was going on those planes?
The one call you mentioned, I've heard. We are in the process of checking that out. We are in the process of checking any other phone calls of that nature. I'm not aware of any at this time.
Were there chemicals sprayed around the streets in fear that there could also be some kind of chemical attack in conjunction with this?
We've done the best we could so far to test. We've had some tests done. It doesn't appear as if that's a problem. The major problem that they're experiencing with regard to the things that people were breathing in and getting in their eyes is the cement, and it's caused some real irritation. to some of the people. But so far, there's no indication of any other chemical reaction. But that's still being tested.
Commissioner Kerik, can you explain to us what the mobilization effort is?
There are concerns about asbestos, and at this point, it does not appear as if there's an undue amount of asbestos in the atmosphere. But those are very preliminary tests.
Mayor, what the mobilization effort is?
Situations. Did we lose a lot of telecommunications because of towers that were on World
Yes.
Trade Center 1?
Yeah. The reason we're here is that the communications in Lower Manhattan are intermittent. The Commissioner and I were at the police department. It's open, but the communications in and out of the police department are intermittent right now. And Verizon, who has really done a tremendous job, Verizon is doing everything they can to save their facilities so that we can get that service back. I can't express to you how appreciative we are of what they're doing, including taking some real risks in order to make sure that we have at least emergency service and that we keep our telephone service.
I'm personally struck when I see the video of the plane crashing into World Trade Center. I'm curious about each of your personal reactions to seeing the video and seeing the collapse of the tower.
I think personal reaction is the same horror that everyone else has, and I think my personal reaction is about the people that I know, people that I know that died.
Mr. Von Essen, you look particularly pained. If you lost a lot of men in it,
Yes.
could you talk about it more?
We've got a lot of work to do.
There'll be plenty of time to talk about that. Our hearts go out to all the families that are going to suffer. When you mentioned that, Ted Olson is a very close friend of mine, and I know Barbara. She's also a very close friend of mine, and I didn't know that she was on the plane. My hearts go out to all of the people affected by this. They don't deserve this. These are innocent people. This is a horrible attack. When you think of the sneak attacks that have been perpetrated, there's no military purpose to this. This is cowardly. It was awful. It was horrible. And again, the people of the city of New York are going to demonstrate, as we have when we've been tested before, that we're stronger than these barbarians. And we're going to do it a couple of ways. We're going to do it by going about our normal lives and not being afraid. We're going to have that shown all over the world that we're not afraid. And we're going to do it because we're not going to strike back in hatred. We're not going to participate in group blame or group hatred or anything like that. We're going to leave it up to the FBI, the police department, to find out who did this. We're going to leave it up to the President of the United States and the military to strike back, and I know they will. And we're going to ask everybody to pray for the families that are going through horror tonight. And I wish we could give you more information, but the communications are not perfect right now.
Commissioner Kerik, can you talk about the mobilization, Commissioner Kerik, about what the police department specifically is doing at this point to safeguard the city and the citizens here?
Well, the police officers throughout the rest of the city are basically staying in their boroughs. We brought in the specialized units, narcotics, vice, so forth and so on. They're in uniform. They're going to be working in southern Manhattan as a part of the rescue effort. Police department has gone to 12-hour tours. So there's easier rotation, and we can get them some rest when possible. With the assistance of the governor's office, we have the National Guard that's going to be in this evening with us, about 1,500 members of the Guard, maybe 1,700. And so far it's working out fine. They're doing a tremendous job. And I just want to extend my personal thanks and gratitude to all the men and women in the police department and the fire department. We took some heavy losses today, and my heart goes out to them and their families.
Mayor, how many buildings collapsed? Can you just fill us in through the logistics?
Two large ones and two or three others now.
There were two or three others?
Yeah, 7 World Trade. I think there was one other building that collapsed. Altogether, 4 or 5 buildings. We don't know yet how many, and we don't know how many are structurally damaged that will collapse. That's why the rescue efforts have to proceed carefully, cautiously. I want to thank the governor. Governor Pataki has been here to help us. Thank you very, very much. Thank you.
I have a question for both of you. There was a very vivid video on all the TV stations just a while ago of celebrations in the street in the Palestinian territories, people handing out candy, people, shooting out guns in celebration. I wonder how those pictures of the celebration in the Palestinian territories hits you tonight as you sit to confront one of the country's greatest tragedies.
Obviously, it's reprehensible that anyone would take joy in innocent civilians being the victims of terrorism. And it's incumbent on the president, our military, and our nation to strike back at those officials, those governments, those terrorists who have done this. And I'm confident that they will do that.
Mr. Mayor and also
Mayor, would
Director
you
Mawn,
answer that question as well?
It indicates the horrific nature of terrorism and what it does to people and what we're facing in this world. And it's horrible. This was an unprovoked attack on absolutely innocent people, and thousands of them. There's no justification for it. It's a product of insanity. It's the insanity of terrorism, and we have to do something about it. We have to do something about it as a nation, and we have to do something about it as a city in the way we react to it.
Mr. Mayor and also
Thank you.
Director
Last
Mawn, it appears to be an attack on the World Financial Center and the economy of the United States. The fact that it hit there with all the financial institutions, not only within the World Trade Center, but nearby. At what point do you hope to have that up and running, including Wall Street and the stock market?
We spoke to Dick Russell several times today. The stock market is intact. I believe that tomorrow, in order to assist in the city's recovery efforts, they will not be able to open, but that's because we need to keep that area of Manhattan free and clear so we can move emergency vehicles in and out with the state's help and everyone else. But New York is still here. We're here now. We're going to be here tomorrow. The World Financial Center is still here. They're not going to stop us. We've undergone tremendous losses, and we're going to grieve for them horribly. But New York is going to be here tomorrow morning, and it's going to be here forever. And this is the way of life that people want throughout the world, not what they might be seeing in the Middle East. This is the way of life people want: democracy, the rule of law, people treating each other decently, people caring about each other, and we're going to prevail. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our thanks to our friends at New York One for allowing us to show you that briefing that took place between the New York mayor